spicy garlic bread sloppy joes. They are gonna turn sloppy joes on their head. You are going to fall in love with this recipe. So I'm starting with some brown ground beef, a whole bunch of it, and I'm gonna add a whole bunch of flavor and a whole bunch of spice too. So I've got some diced onion and 3 different peppers, and I removed the membranes of each one and the seeds. First one is good old jalapeno, and if you can tolerate the spice, go ahead and leave the seeds and membranes intact because that's where all the spice is. And then Serrano and Fresno chilies.
Ooh.
Yum. Woo! And then a bunch of minced garlic and a good amount of tomato paste. This is off to a winning start. Do you guys like sloppy joes?
Yes.
Just wait until we serve. Oh, they're gonna be so good. Okay, so the veggies have had a chance to start cooking. So I'm gonna add some liquid in the form of beef broth because sloppy joes are all about like the saucy, just lusciousness of it. Bunch of ketchup. This ain't no sophisticated sloppy joe recipe, I'll tell you that right now. A little bit of brown sugar, which kind of helps just give it a little bit of sweetness. It's not an overly sweet addition. And then some chili powder and dry mustard. Just kind of chug it on in there. And balsamic glaze, just for fun. This is sort of a combination of sloppy joes and spaghetti sauce and chili. Okay, so I'm gonna stir all this together. And then once it's all mixed, I'm gonna put the lid on and let it simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes until it's saucy and marvelous. And then we'll build the sloppy joes. All right, I'm gonna get the bread for the sloppy joes, and this is really fun. This is just frozen garlic bread from the package.
Yum.
And I just baked it according to the instructions on the package, and it's kind of a nice twist. Traditional sloppy joes are obviously really soft burger buns, but I love the crispy bread because it kind of holds up to the sauce. And speaking of the sauce, check this out, Alex.
Oh, wow.
Oh. I love how you guys go, oh, even if it's not that thrilling. Okay, it's very, very hot, which is just what I want it to be because I'm gonna show you how to build these sloppy joes. So get one of these, woo, very hot pieces of garlic bread. And the store-bought garlic bread already has like a cheesy mixture baked into it. But I am never content with the default amount of cheese. I've gotta add cheese to the situation. So I've got provolone. I'm gonna do 2 pieces. You can't even see the bread at this point. And then sloppy joes are, by definition, a little sloppy, a little messy, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. Little saucy, a little crazy. And
That's
you
a little sloppy.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't
sloppy.
you can't do a little scoop of the sauce on top. This is kind of crazy. And then to make it look a little more elegant,
That one's for Alex.
I'll sprinkle some parsley right on top. But within a minute, the cheese is going to be melted over the bread. Can you see the bread in there?
Barely.
Look at that.
Wow.
Sloppy joes are not known for necessarily their glamorous, attractive appearance, but man, oh man, are they delicious. Oh, this looks so good. I'm just gonna take a little tiny taste.
No.
That's not very sloppy.
Come on,
looking.
you gotta really get
Wow.
in there.
Get in there. One bite.
Let's just say you don't wanna eat this on a first date. Gonna get messy.
Char-grilled oysters with green garlic butter. You ready?
Oh, right up my alley.
I've got some Wellfleets here. These are wild. You can also get some farm-raised. Farm-raised is gonna be a little bit more uniform, cleaner. Wild, you might find a little bit of, barnacles or things growing on there. Scrub them really, really good and then get to shucking. So when you wanna shuck, you're gonna turn it over and look at that flat side. And usually towards that tapered in is your access point. You're gonna take your little knife here and kind of get it in there. And what I like to do is press down at the very end. See that right there? Kind of like twist it. It's gonna open. Before I even get it completely open, just kind of run that oyster knife. That's gonna release it from that top, right? Clean off your knife and then just kind of release it from that muscle right there, and you're good to go. All right, so I'm gonna make this green herbed butter for you. Some butter in there, parsley. That's the green, along with some scallions. I just like to break them down the size, even though my food processor's gonna do some work. A little bit of lemon juice and lemon zest, garlic, and some Italian seasoning. And if you like, you can add some red chili flake. I usually add that to my Italian seasoning at home anyway, and just pulse it. Really blend it all the way together. Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna move this around. I like to add in some salt. Just a little bit, especially if you're using salted butter. And then crack in some black pepper. Okay. And everything's gonna blend in. All right, let me show you how beautiful this is. Okay, let's bring these babies up. All cleaned and shucked. And then I like to use 2 spoons and just get some butter out. And I'm using my baking rack. Now the baking rack, if you'll notice, it's upside down. So the little foot or the feet are facing up. So instead of putting these directly on the grill and one by one, taking them, it's nice to just old tool, new trick. Now I'm just gonna make a very quick topping. Some panko crumbs, put in some parsley. This is some Parmesan cheese. Mix that up. Just give it a little toss. And then just kind of come in and right over the top. All right, so I've got my grill now screaming hot as you can get it. 500, 600 degrees, whatever works. We're gonna put this right over the direct heat of the grill and just cook it until everything is nice and bubbly and golden brown. Now I'm putting them in a plate filled with like some coarse salt. That's just for plating. Also, you know, it's nice to prop them up so that they're not spilling everything out. And a lot of times salt will allow you to kind of nestle them in there like that. You know, this is a great end of the summer celebration, kind of ushering in the new season. All right, and then at the very end, just some lemon wedges. You could serve it like this or just hook everyone up before it gets to them with a nice squeeze. I'll just take this one and eat it. Cook's treats. All right, nice squeeze of lemon at the end. Look at that. Ooh, hot. It's hot. Let me tell you, this is how you serve it, okay?
Today, I'm making one of my favorites, the grilled hanger steak with roasted garlic romesco. So, this is a hanger steak. It hangs under the diaphragm of the plate of the beef in the belly, and it's next to the brisket and the skirt. Now, this was always taken home by the butchers and called a butcher cut because they didn't sell it. They didn't think people wanted it. But in actuality, it's a fantastic piece of beef. It has great marbling, incredible texture. So, very simple. We have it at room temperature, very important. We're gonna make a little rub, a dry rub, a marinade. And this is, again, what I just came up with. You can change it if you want to. We have some seasoning, some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, and some, I have ancho chili powder because it's what I pulled out. You can have chili powder or roasted red pepper powder or cayenne powder, whatever you want, not a problem. So we're just gonna whisk that up very easily. And then we're gonna be very, very liberal with this. You really wanna get a lot of spice on this baby because I tell you, it has a lot of flavor and it really needs it. It's a dense piece of beef, but it's fantastic. Okay. So we're gonna get it on a very hot fire. And this is one of the few times you want a very hot fire. We're just gonna put it right on here. And you can see how like just gorgeous and hot this grill is. It's probably about 500 degrees. We're gonna turn it a couple of times. You wanna make sure you turn it a couple of times because it has an odd shape. It's sort of oblong, half flat. It's not a normal slice of steak. So I'm gonna go in and just check these steaks here, make sure they're getting a nice char. While that's going, let's start our Romesco sauce. So our Romesco sauce is very simple. And most of this is fresh from the garden, but you have roasted red peppers, you have some tomato, you have a little vinegar, some olive oil, and today I'm adding roasted garlic. And this is just garlic that's cut in half. You put it on a couple of sheets of aluminum foil, olive oil, salt and pepper, wrap it up, and throw it in a 450-degree oven and roast it for about 45 minutes. It comes out and you just squeeze it like an orange right into the sauce. It's really delicious. So let's add to this, to a blender, our roasted garlic, vinegar. This is a Spanish sauce. I really love this sauce, especially for meats, especially for powerfully grilled meats outside that have a lot of flavor. It really cuts any of the fat. Some red peppers that are roasted. One nice tomato, either canned or fresh. This one happens to be canned. Some almonds. And anchovies, one of my favorite things. These add incredible umami. It's like adding 15 flavors. And just some dry bread, country bread that's crumbled, but this is fresh crumbled. You can add it dry, but I think just fresh and crumbled is fine. I went out to the garden this morning. I'm in the garden. You can hear the birds and everything. I just got some beautiful herbs here. I'm gonna add some parsley. You don't have to. I'm just gonna add a piece of basil and some little fresh dill. Put it in here, and it's just beautiful. Look at that. Look at how beautiful this looks. And I'm telling you, you can use this on anything on the grill. These steaks look great. Again, rare to medium rare, but I really like on the rare side with this. This is looking really good. So we have our beautiful hanger steak here sitting, and the real key to this is to let it rest. Leave it alone. All the juices come back, the muscles relax, the fat gets a chance to have some fun inside, and you can get a juicy steak, and all the juice is gonna be in the bite, not on the board. So we're just gonna slice it, and you can see this sort of striation here this way. So you always wanna cut against the grain. You don't wanna cut with the grain because it'll be tough. So we're just gonna start here. And you can see how nice that cuts and how beautiful the cook on that is. We're gonna transfer that to a plate. A little bit of the Romesco sauce. And I don't want to put it on top. I like to put it on the side because the steak is cooked so beautifully. You want to show off your grilling chops, right? I'm going to call in my #1 taster, and I like to put a little lime juice on top of this. Madeline.
Yeah?
Here is a steak knife and the sauce together because you just notice how fatty that is and how delicious it is alone.
So good.
Garlic Hasselback potatoes with an herb sour cream. Crispy oven-roasted potatoes sliced like a deck of cards with slivers of garlic thrown in the slices. Dollop them with a fresh parsley sour cream. It's banging. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little butter in here, about half a stick to melt it. Some olive oil. We're gonna toss the potatoes with this a little bit later, as soon as we're done putting everything together. Okay, we're gonna let that melt. Let me show you how to do these potatoes. Really simple. We're gonna slice some garlic and put them on the inside. So we do maybe 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced, as thin as you can get it. If you're a garlic lover like me, it doesn't really matter though. All right, so here's how you do the potatoes. A little trick, find your wooden spoon, cradle the potato in there, and just start making some slices across. All right, halfway through, I flip it around, more slices. The good thing about this, makes room for the garlic, and then when we put this in the oven to roast, these tops are gonna be so crunchy. Yeah, one last chunk of garlic in our Hasselback potatoes. Okay, so I've got the butter and the olive oil. I'm just gonna kind of drizzle it over the top and toss it with my hand. Salt and pepper, really quick. Lots of salt. It's all gonna mix together when I toss it. A little bit of pepper. All right, both hands in. Don't worry about the garlic coming out, man. It's so packed in there with that raw potato. It's not going anywhere, and if it does, it's gonna taste nice and crunchy. So don't stress too much. All right, those are good, ready to go. I'm gonna put these in 400 degrees for about an hour, just like a baked potato. speaking of baked potato, we've got a sour cream herb sauce that I'm gonna put on this. It's gonna taste amazing. Let me get some sour cream really quick. Some sour cream. I love this recipe because, man, this is just really simple, but it pays off really big in the end. Let me get a bowl. I can mix it in here. So about a half a cup of sour cream. No need to super measure. A little salt, a little pepper. You can do this with like vegetables. Of course, it's great over baked potato, and it's gonna go great with our garlic Hasselback potatoes. Some garlic powder. Just a little bit. It's gonna go well. Because you got the garlic in the potatoes, you might add some garlic on top too, and some parsley. Some fresh parsley, a couple of leaves really quick. I'm gonna chop these up, put them in, stir it, and set it to the side, and they're ready to top our garlic Hasselback potatoes. Now remember, this is really simple, and look how pretty it is in the end. You just slice them like a deck of cards, don't go all the way down to the bottom. Put a couple of slivers of garlic in there. These come out so hot and they're so tiny, I wanna pop them in my mouth. So add a little dollop of that herbed sour cream we made earlier. It's gonna cool it off for you.
So I've got my little dough balls over here that I'm gonna use to make some crackers for our roasted garlic dip. So this is the same dough I used for my calzones. So I'm going to run it through my pasta roller, not just for pasta anymore. Then I'm gonna give it a brush with some egg wash and then top it with some grated Asiago cheese, a little cheesy stuff, and just for fun, a little cayenne pepper. So I'm whipping together my little topper. So if you like to be super spicy, be super spicy. If not, hey, if you want to use Parmesan cheese, since we used it in our filling, go ahead and knock yourself out as well. I just like that salty, crunchy, spicy kind of stuff on the top of my my cracker. So my little dough balls have been rising. I'm gonna just give them a little flatten out, and I'm gonna run them through my pasta roller so they get really long and thin, probably about 1/8 of an inch or so. I start at number 1, and I'm gonna go to probably 6 or 7. So my last pass, look at this. Nice thin dough, and it's gonna make a nice crispy, crunchy cracker. Good stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna lay this out on my board. I'm gonna cut it into a manageable length. Give it a little brush with some egg wash, just so my cheese and pepper will stick to it. Grab a landing place for these, and a little sprinkle. Oh yeah, just so this sticks. We like sticky stuff. This Asiago and cayenne is gonna be great with the garlic. So I'm just gonna cut them into triangles. Look at those little cuties. Onto our tray, and when my garlic and calzones come out of the oven, I'm gonna pop these guys into the same 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. And I'm just finishing up my roasted garlic dip. I had a couple bulbs of elephant garlic, big, huge bulbs of garlic. I tossed them in the oven with nothing. I'm getting these a little pulsed up. I roasted them for about 30 minutes till they're soft, and then I'm gonna add some yummy flavor to this. So I'm gonna add, of course, some salt. Why? Because it makes things taste yummy. And I'm gonna add a little cheesy stuff. Why? Because it's delicious and I like it. And we put these on our crackers, which are just about to come out of the oven. So our crackers, we use the same dough as we did for our calzones, our little calzone party happening around here today. I rolled them through a pasta machine. I brushed it with a little egg wash and then put a little Asiago cheese and cayenne pepper on there. So now we're just making this sort of dippy. So I'm adding a little oil. If you like it a little looser or a little thicker, you know, you can be the judge of that. Let's see what we got going on there. One more little drop. All right, that is looking good. So I'm gonna grab a little spatula, a little rubber spat, and let's give a rub down and let's taste it. Let's see where we're at with this. It smells delicious. The roasted garlic smells like really nutty and, oh yeah, baby. That's good. It's amazing. It's far more mild than it actually smells. And because we used elephant garlic, that is also a very mild garlic.
I'm making my cheesy garlic babka muffins. To get started, I'm making my dough. I'll heat up some milk, which will help the yeast proof. And then I'll grab my mixer bowl and I'll pour in the milk. I'll grab my packet of yeast and I'll sprinkle it over the milk. And I'll also add 2 teaspoons of sugar. I'll swirl this around and then let it sit until it gets foamy on top. And in the meantime, I'll crack my eggs. I'll add the eggs right into this bowl, and then I'll also add a 1/4 cup of sugar and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And now I'll whisk this together. Next, I'll grab my flour. I'll get this onto my stand mixer. Now with the mixer on low, I'm gonna add 3 cups of flour. I'll keep on mixing while I grab my butter. I have some softened butter here, and I'm gonna add it gradually to allow it to mix in. And now I'll let this mix and knead for about 7 to 10 minutes until it's smooth and slightly sticky. This dough looks perfect. It's smooth, it's still a little bit sticky. Okay, I'm gonna ball it up, and it's ready to rise. And now I'll grab a clean bowl. I'll drizzle it with some olive oil so the dough doesn't stick. And then I'll place it in top down, give it a little zhuzh, and then turn it right side up so that the whole thing is covered in oil. And I'll grab my plastic wrap. Now this will rise for about 2 hours or until it's doubled in size. And in the meantime, I'll prepare all of my fillings to stick inside. This dough is perfectly puffy, and now I'm ready to roll it out and shape my muffins. I'll place the dough on my counter. I'll roll out my dough into a long, skinny rectangle. It's a perfect rectangle. I'm gonna brush it with some olive oil now. And the olive oil in here is gonna help create the layers of the muffins. And now it's time to fill. I'll start with a few pinches of crushed red pepper, and now some toasted pine nuts, some chopped fresh oregano, and next my shredded Gruyere cheese, and lastly, my garlic. All my toppings are on, and now I'll roll this up like a jelly roll. I'm rolling this up tightly to lock in all of the fillings. When I get to the top, I'll pinch the edges shut, and then I'm gonna place it seam side down. And now I'm gonna cut it into 24 slices. Now I'll grab my muffin tin. This has been greased so that the muffins don't stick. And to place these in, I'm gonna grab 2 pieces. So I'll take 1 piece, twist it around, place it in my muffin tin, take a second piece, give it a twist, and place it right on top of the first piece. I'll keep on shaping. When I'm done, I'll cover them and let them rise for another 30 minutes until they're puffy, and then it'll be almost time to bake. Oh my gosh, look how good they look! These have puffed up beautifully. I'm gonna brush them with some egg wash now. This is just an egg beaten with a splash of water, and it's gonna help the tops get golden and shiny. For added embellishment on the top, I'll sprinkle these with flaky salt. This will add a little saltiness and crunch, and it'll be sparkly on top. And black pepper, basically savory sprinkles. And grated Parmesan, which will add saltiness and umami, and it'll get golden on top as well. Okay, these are ready for the oven now. They'll go in at 375 for 15 to 20 minutes until they're golden on top. They're gonna be scrumptious. It smells outrageous in here. Oh my gosh. Holy Toledo, how good do these look? These look insane. I have to taste one immediately. Here I go. See all the fillings. It's so garlicky and delicious.
Garlic butter bath biscuits. So I've got 2 sticks of salted butter in a little skillet, and I'm gonna let it slowly melt, and I will get started on the biscuit dough. It's pretty easy to make. It's just self-rising flour, and then I will add a good amount of salt. So I'm gonna add buttermilk, and I'll just stir the flour mixture slowly as I drizzle in the buttermilk. Ooh, that butter is sizzling away. These are so incredible. This comes together so quickly. All right, the buttermilk and the flour mixture is all combined. You can use any baking dish you want. I think the biscuits look so pretty in this oval shape. So I'm gonna take these 2 sticks of melted butter. They're not sticks anymore. And pour it into the pan. And then I have some garlic, and that's where the garlic is gonna come in. Mix it in with the butter. And I'm gonna strip the leaves off of some rosemary, and the rosemary is gonna go into the butter too. So basically I'm seasoning the butter, and you can imagine you could do any sort of seasoning that you like with the butter. So it goes in, and I'll stir this mixture together. Are you getting excited yet? Okay, so here comes the biscuit dough, and it is as simple as just tipping it straight in. And with this biscuit dough, you don't want to just stir the heck out of it. You don't want to really beat it too much because you want the biscuits to stay as fluffy as possible. So I'll kind of push the dough out to the edges. This is a bath of butter, hence the name. I mean, it's not like you're melting half a stick of butter or, 5 tablespoons of butter. You're melting 2 sticks of butter and baking biscuits in it. So I'm gonna score the biscuits before they bake. So I'm gonna use a bench scraper and then 2 cuts across the other way. And this just kind of helps the butter come up between the cracks. So I'm gonna put the biscuits in a 450-degree oven. They're gonna bake for about 25 minutes. Now I'm adding some little chives to the top, and I wanna show you what they look like. I'm doing this for you guys. Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. Look at that beautiful biscuit. It's so fluffy. I'm gonna take a bite. I must. Oh, They never fail to amaze me.
This is the type of meal, just a sheet panned blackened salmon with a little garlicky kale all at once in the oven that is gonna keep you home for dinner.
Good. Save the money and the calories, too.
Right. So speaking of calories, by the way, I always try to be a little judicious with the olive oil when making a dish like this. Because the salmon is rich, you don't need a lot of olive oil. Those type of calories really add up.
Yep.
I want to save some calories for dessert. We're gonna start with a little salt right on top. And I'm using kosher salt here. It's a weeknight, We're not getting out the pink Himalaya salt on Wednesday. And then we're gonna kind of mimic the idea of blackening by mixing together some spices that are found in a classic blackening spice mix. Blackened fish, made traditionally, is dipped in clarified butter and then dipped in really spicy spices mixed with garlic, and that's what makes it stick. And then you cook it in a roaring hot pan. I kind of want to just take the essence of the blackening, which is some cayenne and paprika mixed together, and that's quite a bit of heat, right? Mixed with some garlic and dry mustard powder, one of my favorite spices. I love it so much. And then we're just gonna use a sifter, and this gives it a nice even layer, right? So every bite has a bit of spice distributed all over it. You don't have any clumps of overly spicy spices. We just arrange that right on your oiled tray. Leave a little space in between each piece of salmon so they get an opportunity to brown a little bit, right? And then what I love is you're just thinking, okay, this could almost be dinner right then and there. But we're gonna add to it a little bit of kale. I've got the equivalent of about 1 bunch of Tuscan kale here, ripped up in the pieces. You can leave them a little bit big, because they're along for the ride with the salmon, so they're gonna cook a good 12 to 15 minutes, even longer if you like your salmon well done. Now, here's the interesting thought about kale. I've torn most of the chewy ribs out of the center of these pieces of kale. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil, a couple tablespoons, pinch of salt, and just give it a quick massage. Interestingly enough, we talk about massaged kale salads, right, where you add vinegar and you're supposed to let it sit on there, and they always say the vinegar, the acid, makes the kale wilt and get kind of droopy. It's actually the oil soaking into the cuticles of the kale that makes the kale more tender. It's not the vinegar or the acid. The vinegar, the lemon juice, bounces off the kale. It's getting the oil inside the kale that really gets it more tender.
Oh, what's that?
Cuticles. Couple cloves of just chopped up garlic, and then we literally just, and this, to me, it's also just so inviting. It just looks like it's gonna be fantastic. And if this is a little bit generous on the portion, honestly, I love eating this just chilled the next day, almost like you would a little scoop of tuna salad. Instead, you have some of this leftover salmon. I just sprinkle any garlic left in the bowl on there shamelessly. And then just a little sprinkle over top of some dried oregano.
I like it that you put it on the end. I think it's more pronounced.
Okay, and this just goes right into a 400-degree oven. And you just cook it as long as you want your salmon to be cooked. So medium rare, I'm thinking 12 to 15 minutes. more well done, leave it in there for 20. The kale can hang. You put some fish and greens in front of Jeff and Geoffrey, and you just get happiness, which I love. Little lime zest right on top.
That's an Iron Chef trick.
Yeah, just wake it up a little bit. You could totally use a lemon, by the way, but I kind of prefer that kind of more floral and almost bitter note from lime. And then I literally just cut it and just squeeze some lime right over the fish. Not so much over the kale, but we really want it to be over the fish.
You could just serve it on that, right to the table.
Yeah, right in the middle
Stack
of the
of
table.
plates, have at it.
So I have a fish purveyor who puts honey on all his fish, and I thought that was just ridiculous. I'd never cooked a piece of fish until and like you said, over the quarantine, you've kind of learned a little bit of what you like.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the tiniest. You don't even know.
What'd you just do? I don't even know. I didn't say nothing.
I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah, no, and I know, like, I know a lot of chef friends of mine, they drizzle a little really good sherry vinegar on the top.
Can you hear the kale, the crunch of it rustling right on top? Look at that, so pretty. And like you said, put the tray in the middle of the table on a trivet and dinner is served.
Everybody needs to know how to make a roast chicken. Even my friend Susan Stroman. So I'm gonna show her how to do a really easy roast chicken and get lots of flavor.
That's beautiful.
How's that for a chicken? First thing I do, actually, is I salt it in advance. When it comes home from the store, I salt it, put it in the fridge, and all that salt gets into the meat, so it gives it lots of flavor.
Okay.
I'm gonna salt and pepper the inside. You taking good notes?
I am. Salt and pepper the inside. Now, what kind of salt do you use?
I actually use kosher salt, which I think is a little softer than table salt.
Okay.
So you know those big boxes you can find in the grocery store? Salt and pepper the inside. It's all about getting flavor into it,
Right.
okay? So I'm gonna take a head of garlic, a whole head of garlic. Don't peel it, don't do anything.
Oh.
Just cut the whole thing right in half. And it goes right in the inside. And I think a lemon really does a lot for it. So I'm gonna cut it in quarters. And just shove that little lemon in there. So you tie up its little legs just like that. So that keeps it close to the body.
Okay.
And then what I do is just tuck the wings under itself. Instead of tying it up so like the chicken's in bondage. It's just so much easier. Just do that.
Oh.
So one of the key things is you want to make sure the pan's not too big, because if it's too big, the vegetables in the pan are going to burn. So the first thing I'm going to put in the pan is onions. Okay, carrots into the pan. 4 carrots. And the last thing is potatoes, and I love these, the Yukon Gold potatoes. And now my chicken. So it's a 5 to 6 pound chicken. It serves 3 people probably.
3 people.
And now, in order for the chicken to brown, really important, you want to dry it.
Okay.
Paper towel. I'm just gonna go wash my hands and I'll show you the next part.
Okay.
Don't have any fun until I get back.
I will wait.
Okay, a little butter. I'm just gonna brush the outside of the skin.
And what does butter really do?
It flavors it, but also the milk solids in the butter actually burn a little bit, so that actually browns the chicken.
It looks
And
fantastic.
then drizzle a little bit on the potatoes and the onions and the carrots. Just mix it up a little bit. Lots of salt and pepper on the chicken, and on the vegetables. And that's it. So into the oven, 425 degrees.
Okay.
For between an hour and 15 and an hour and 30 minutes. Just take the chicken out.
Yes.
Cover it with aluminum foil, and take the vegetables in the pan and put it right back in the oven for 15 minutes. Let them keep cooking.
Great.
And that way the juices in the chicken get back into the meat, and it's unbelievable how different it is.
Then what happens?
Then we have to carve it.
Oh.
How's that for a chicken?
Not bad. Needs applause.
These are buttery ranch rolls. So I'm making a beautiful butter, and all it is garlic and parsley and melted butter. I'm just gonna turn this way down and let it simmer and infuse. And then I'm gonna get the dough ready. So this is the kind of thing where you can use whatever dough you have at your disposal. This is store-bought pizza dough. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat off under this butter so it is ready to go. So I'm gonna get a rolling pin, and I'm gonna roll this out until it's about 12 by 8. These rolls are amazing. They basically look like cinnamon rolls or sweet rolls, but they are ultra savory, very garlicky, and the star of the show is ranch. I think I've got this rolled out about as long and wide as I can get it. Ah, there we go. Okay, so, ooh, gosh, it got a little brown in a good way. So I'm gonna pour, just like I would with cinnamon rolls, a really good amount of this garlicky parsley butter on the dough, and then I'm gonna brush it with a brush, and you basically wanna get the butter all the way out to the edge. Okay, so I have a packet of ranch seasoning, and I'm gonna sprinkle it all over the buttery surface. This is kind of like the cinnamon sugar in the cinnamon roll scenario.
Oh.
And then
Nifty.
I'm gonna use my little typewriter technique. I just flipped it over so the seam side is down. If a little bit leaks out, don't be sad, because that means it's gonna be really good. And then when you get it rolled into a garlicky, savory log, you wanna cut it into 12 semi-equal circles. So I still have a little bit of butter in the pan. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit on the bottom. Yes, I'm putting more butter on the bottom of the pan. And then I'm gonna put all of these rolls into the pan until it's totally full. All right, nice and messy. So just like you would with cinnamon rolls, you wanna put these in sort of a warm place in your kitchen, let them rise for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll show you what they look like after they rise. Check it out.
Wow.
Look at all the butter. It's kind of like souped up around the sides. Okay, so let's go get these in the oven, Alex. And I have a surprise for you. What do you think the surprise is?
Magic of TV?
Yes. So these go in 400 for about 20 minutes. And look what I have. Can you handle this? Oh God, it's hot. Oh my
Sizzling
word.
butter.
Those look so good. These are buttery ranch rolls is what these are. And this is what I do when I make cinnamon rolls. I can't wait. I love being a teenager.
Garlic confit mashed potatoes. So to confit something means to cook it in fat. And so what I'm doing is cooking garlic cloves in olive oil. So I'm gonna infuse that olive oil with this garlic. Okay. I have about a half a cup of peeled garlic cloves. I'm gonna turn the heat up to about medium high. So I'm gonna cook this for about 10 to 15 minutes until the garlic starts to soften up and that oil is infused with all of that garlic flavor. So I have boiled potatoes until they're fork tender. Now I'm gonna strain them and mash them. So this is about 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes that I've peeled and diced into equal pieces. I always get asked this question. How do you make the best mashed potatoes? Is it a blender? Is it by your hand? Is it a food processor? It's none of those ways. It's a ricer. Let me show you. I'm just gonna add the potatoes to the ricer. Then I'm gonna take this top handle and press it down. Now look at this. So the ricer creates more air, which results in a fluffier mashed potato. That's the last bit of potatoes. I need to strain the garlic from the oil and add it to the food processor with 1 stick of unsalted butter. All right, so I am going to blitz this together until all of the garlic cloves break down. All right, I am going to add this butter and garlic directly to my mashed potatoes. Okay? And I have a little heavy cream here. You don't want to cool down the potatoes with cold, heavy cream, so it's good to warm it up on the stove first. Potatoes they crave salt, okay? And I'm just folding in that butter with the confit garlic and that heavy cream. I'm gonna give it a taste. Make sure I don't need to add any more salt. Woo! Hey, hey, hey. I got garlic bread for days. I'm just gonna add my mashed potatoes to the bowl. We're probably not gonna eat all of this, but that's the great thing about mashed potatoes. They keep in the fridge. I'm gonna use a spoon to kind of create like these divots. Remember that infused garlic oil? Take some of that oil and just drizzle it on top. All right, so I have some chives here and some bacon that I cooked. And my side is done. Ooh, they're gonna love this.
Potatoes good. This is delicious.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Hey everybody, today we're grilling some Spanish food. We have some grilled shrimp with toasted garlic and thyme and red chili vinaigrette. But we're going to just rub these a little bit in some fresh garlic, some red chilies, and some fresh thyme, and a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna make that mixture in this bowl here. Fresh thyme, fresh garlic, red chilies, some salt and black pepper, some olive oil. Just mix this up a little bit. And we're gonna take our shrimp and we're gonna brush on I'd call this an automatic marinade, because basically we're just gonna brush it on and then grill it. We're not gonna let it sit for very long. Red chilies, garlic, and fresh thyme. Let's go to the grill. Whenever I'm cooking shrimp on the grill, I like to put them on skewers so we don't have to chase each individual shrimp around the grill. Shrimp on the grill. All right, now while the shrimp is cooking, I'm just gonna make a little garlic oil, and at the same time, we're gonna make some garlic chips. So we have some olive oil that I'm just gonna heat very slowly. We don't want it to come to a boil or anything like that. We only want it to get to about 275 degrees, because we're actually gonna take some very thinly sliced raw garlic, okay, paper thin. Do you ever see the movie Goodfellas when they're in the prison and they're slicing the garlic with a razor blade? That's what you wanna get here, okay? And we're gonna let the garlic slowly poach, and it's actually gonna get a little crispy. And we'll be able to use the garlic oil and the chips at the same time. All right, let's take a look at our shrimp here. Oh, it looks nice. Give it up for those shrimp, baby. Take a look at this garlic. See how it's starting to sizzle around the edges like that? It's gonna get nice and brown on the outside, and you're gonna have a nice toasted garlic chip to garnish our grilled shrimp with. Lots of shrimp. And then we have our garlic oil that we cooked the garlic chips in. We're just gonna pour a little bit right over our grilled shrimp. And then our garlic chips. Fresh herbs. And don't forget, you want a little nice crusty bread to go, because when all the shrimp are gone, there's gonna be some of that garlic oil on the bottom, and you just wanna sort of hook it up with the bread or a shrimp.
Several years ago, I discovered that roasting shrimp for shrimp cocktail was so much better than boiling it. And I thought, well, if I can roast it for shrimp cocktail, maybe I can do a dinner like that. So I came up with garlic and herb roast shrimp. So first I need some butter. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is really the sauce. And then, if I'm gonna call it garlic and herb roast shrimp, it's gonna have a lot of garlic. It's got 2 tablespoons of garlic in it. I don't wanna cook this too long because I don't want the garlic to overcook. 2 teaspoons of rosemary, which is unusual for shrimp, but it's really good. A little pinch of hot pepper flakes. This is a great weeknight dinner because it doesn't take long to put together. 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. And I'm just gonna cook that for literally a minute, just until you can smell the fragrance of the garlic. It's fantastic. So that's the sauce. I'm gonna turn off the heat. This dish has lots of lemon in it. I've got lemon zest, lemon juice, and sliced lemons. So first I'm gonna zest a whole lemon right into the sauce. I love the way the heat really brings out the lemon flavor. That's the zest. So next is the shrimp, and I've got really big shrimp. They're 10 to 12 count, which means that there are 10 to 12 shrimp in each pound. They're huge. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour this entire sauce over the shrimp. This is a great dish because not only am I gonna bake it in this pan, but in fact, I'm gonna serve it in the pan too. I'm gonna get all of the herbs and the garlic and everything right into this pan. And then to add to the lemon flavor, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this lemon that I've just zested and slice it and put the slices in between the shrimp, and it'll all bake together. And I serve it with crusty bread and maybe some kind of a roasted vegetable. So what I did was I arranged the shrimp in a concentric circle with their little tails up. And I've got shrimp that have the tails still on, just because I think it looks better. So this is gonna roast 400 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. That's pretty fast, right? And I just happen to have one that's coming right out of the oven now. How beautiful is that? I'm just gonna give it another little squeeze of lemon juice. I love when the warm shrimp absorbs the lemon. And I would say dinner doesn't get any faster than that.
You're gonna have to get your napkins ready because I'm showing you the ultimate slather with my garlic and soy sticky ribs.
Ooh, that deserves a round of applause before I even say it.
This is not very Frenchy.
People don't know oven ribs are the best ribs.
Wow.
Not very Frenchy. So I'm actually gonna start with the rub that's gonna go on the ribs. And Geoffrey, you are then all dressed in white.
Wait, what was that?
Yeah, that of course, grainy mustard for the little pop of the seeds with brown sugar. Measured salt in this case, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves.
Oh, gosh.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Dry mustard and dry ginger. We're gonna mix all that together. Actually, you're gonna mix all that together.
Almost like a 5-spice vibe.
A little bit. But the mustard and the brown sugar, right? And Geoffrey, then I want you to just brush these ribs
With this?
with all this. It's gonna become like a paste.
I already know I'm making this. I know it's just happening.
Yes, and the great thing is, so I already blanched the ribs. I dropped them in boiling water for 2 minutes just to kind of like get them ready so that they get extra crispy. That's one of my favorite things to do. I do it with a whole chicken. I do it with ribs. I just drop it in boiling water for 1 minute, take it out, dry it. You can do it with a duck, and you get that super crispy skin, and that's gonna help. Look at this. Picasso over here.
You're not like cooking it in the boiling water. I mean, you're retaining that flavor and that fat in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Geoffrey is just, and so we're gonna pop that in the fridge for 6 hours and up to 12. You can just throw them in overnight, even uncovered, honestly, to let them kind of dry out, you know, and get that refrigerator tan. Now we're gonna make the sauce. I'm gonna start with some rice wine vinegar, nice and kind of mild, but some acidity, and then really just hoisin a lot of it.
That is a lot of hoisin.
You know what? It really is, but you know, it's kind of like ketchup.
It does so much work.
Okay, and Dijon.
Oh, there it is, more.
Yeah, well, you know what? So I made this sauce a bunch of times, and I kept adding stuff to it to give it the right body. Do you know what I mean? Apple cider vinegar, soy sauce.
This is
This is an umami bomb.
It's gonna give us some color too.
And then I use this soy. I use low sodium soy. I really just generally go to that.
Me too. That's what I use.
A little bit of sesame oil. I feel like we add sesame oil to stuff, but I want to make it work a little bit. So I'm gonna sweat some garlic in the sesame oil.
Make you sweat till you bleed.
Yeah, I want every bit of flavor. And then some crushed coriander seeds.
It's real.
You know what I learned on the Instagram as we're talking about it?
On the Instagram?
On the Instagram about sesame. What movie is Open Sesame?
What movie?
When they say Open Sesame, it's like a...
Open Sesame.
It's Open Sesame. It's
You
not
thought it was Open Sesame.
I did for years.
Look at you.
So did I. I was this years old.
Thank you.
I just learned that now.
I remember
I thought
as
it
a
was
kid.
Open
It's
Sesame.
Open Sesame.
That's fake news, man.
Oh, it
I gotta
is?
look that
No,
up.
no, it is. I looked it up.
I read
felt
that
like
when
a
I was
fool.
14 on Prodigy on my dial-up modem before Instagram.
Well, it just made me think of it when you said sesame. I'm like, I gotta tell her.
I just cook the garlic just for a minute, roll it. I really just want to toast the coriander until you can smell it.
This is profoundly unusual.
And let the sesame go right into those garlic slices. So when you bite in, you get just a separate taste, and then just drop that right in there.
That is the extra step that you should not neglect. Right?
Absolutely. So after this is cooked for a while,
Oh.
it just gets this wonderful, it gets that texture.
Oh,
where-
wow. It really
wow.
reduces down.
And then
Oh,
What's
a
that?
big scoop of chili crunch.
Is that Calabria or
There you go.
crunchy chili?
She just throw the whole pantry up in that joint right now.
You're right. You're right. I literally, you can just dump your
Walk
whole
through your pantry, yeah.
Set. Just leave the quinoa behind on this one.
Speaking of social media, those chili crisps are everywhere.
Oh my God, I love it.
Remember,
though.
we even put them on ice cream once.
I had that.
I liked it.
Yeah, and it was actually good.
really good.
I love those on eggs.
Okay, so you see how once this cooks down, all that hoisin and everything just makes this great texture.
Wow.
Shine appeal.
Ribs.
Yeah.
Those are some meaty ribs.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that the transformation from here to here happens in like 25, 30 minutes of just cooking it down on the stove.
J'ai goûté ça.
Tu vas goûter? Okay. Jeffrey's gonna taste.
Excusez-moi.
Jeffrey's gonna taste.
I'm just fascinated by this.
It's nice to, you can kind of, how is it? Is it too salty?
Fascinate me.
Is it too salty?
It's amazing.
It's peculiarly unusual.
Yeah, you said it's peculiar.
No, but to that method of the garlic and coriander, I've never seen that.
Well, it's smart.
And I'm gonna save some of this
Oh, yeah.
for dunking.
Should bottle that. That's
right.
really good.
Maybe like half.
Really
And
good.
then we've got set aside just
Need
what
some
we
more
want to
dressing?
use on the ribs. And I'm starting to
What kind of ribs are these? Did you
These are
specify?
spares, it looks like.
Yeah.
Spares? Okay. Did you trim them, take the skin off and all that?
Well, they're St. Louis
Membrane?
style, so to speak, so it implies all that trimming's been done
Just wanna
exactly.
Make sure those.
But I mean, honestly, you could use a whole pork shoulder for this if you
Oh, I
didn't
would
feel like
definitely do
doing
that.
ribs. What else could you use?
This is like the best.
Pork shanks, I feel
I mean,
like.
yeah, something low and slow like that.
I'm gonna just cover them with foil because we're really gonna bake them. We're gonna
Oh,
bake
my
them
God.
first,
too
and then we're gonna just take the. You know what? I don't have a block of pecorino
Says
and
the guy who
6
probably
sprigs of
smokes meat
parsley.
for 10 hours.
It's the beauty about ribs. I mean, you gotta treat them right. You gotta
Slow and
take your
low.
time.
Yeah, this is like that paraffin pedicure when they get your feet
Yeah,
in the little
moisture.
bags and
Yep.
they
How long is this gonna cook and what's the temperature?
6 days. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna cook this actually probably for a total of about 3 hours. We're gonna really get into this.
I
'Cause
mean,
these
that's what you gotta
have
do.
to be photo ready. This is hair and makeup,
This is-
okay?
where's my
This is what
cameras?
happens. So I'm gonna bake these at 350 degrees for about an hour and a half. Then I'm gonna take the foil off and bake for another hour and a half. Right in that oven. And it's really just about that time frame until they're really,
Fall
ribby.
off the bone.
My ribs are just about ready for their photo debut. Baked at 350 degrees for about an hour and a half with foil over them, and then uncovered for an hour and a half, like the full spa treatment. I mean, when something's gonna be photo ready as well as food ready,
Yeah.
we gotta go through a lot of stuff. Now
look
we're gonna kind of
perfect.
You gotta
sauce
see
them
the
up,
bone. That's the when you see the bone
The
peeking out.
The creep back.
Yeah, you know what's up.
right?
It is-
Now, can I, yeah.
Is it hot?
Asbestosy
Now,
fingers.
speaking of picture perfect, like this is the video that you post on Instagram, slicing the ribs, standing them up like that. That's
Yeah.
like such a chefy way to do it. Do you guys follow Adam Perry Lang?
Yes.
Yeah,
very good.
APL.
Slicing those ribs
I
like
have
this.
his cookbook. It's
But he's like,
so
he's
good.
like dangerous. The guy's on a big drum. He's just whacking it with an axe.
Yeah.
So
well, I
cool.
guess
I like how I called him APL like I know him. I don't know this guy.
You haven't met him?
I've only met him once on
he's a
Rachel
wonderful
Ray.
guy.
Yeah.
He's a
Wonderful.
Sweetheart.
He's a mensch.
Yeah.
He's a really good dude.
Wonderful person.
Hey, I got. Speaking of the internet, I got a quick factotum here.
Go.
Okay.
Do you know that the hashtag sticky ribs has been posted over 6.5 million times?
That's
No
just
way.
crazy.
So we're right on trend here, Al.
right
Sticky
in it.
ribs.
Look at
And
Jesus
they're not even-
tasting, and they're not even done yet.
Sous chef.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, how's it good halfway through?
Now-
So
Thank
glazed
you.
again, and a little 10-minute like bake, just to dry that sauce out right on the individual ribs. I just sauce these 1,000 times. I won't lie.
seriously.
I know it's a bit intense,
You
right?
don't need to run the heat in your house if you're cooking this in winter because you're opening that oven.
Now, one last thing, I boiled a little apple cider vinegar and
Oh,
honey
Yep.
with a little fresh ginger.
Oh, shut your mouth.
Hold on.
All right,
the
I'm in.
plates and the
I'm sorry. I
napkins,
was just.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
trying to see my reflection in these sticky ribs here.
I already started. They're
I know Jeffrey's eating.
They're mind-blowing.
6 of them.
I already see the one I want.
I
see
know,
the
I-
one
you
I
want that
too.
one.
Oh, Sonny, you got the one I wanted.
All right.
Love you, Katie.
Oh,
I'm just giving
now
it a
that's
dunk
that's
here.
love.
Yeah, can you
That's
dunk?
love.
Yep. I'll take
You and I always want the same one.
We do, because we know the good
Sesame.
bite. Ooh, look at that.
Comes out now for some
Oh my
wild reason.
gosh, Alex. Oh my gosh.
Is there enough sauce?
Yeah.
One of the things I love to make is my challah. To start, I'll grab my flour and sugar. I'll get my flour into the bowl of my stand mixer. And you can make this in a stand mixer or by hand. This is all-purpose flour, but occasionally I'll jazz things up and substitute half of it for whole wheat flour or rye flour. I also like throwing in some seeds to this, or maybe even some dry spices like cardamom or cinnamon work great in challah. Next, I'll add my sugar and some salt. I'll mix this to combine. That's good. Now I'll mix up my wet ingredients. I have 4 large eggs here and some flavorless oil. Will make it deliciously moist. I'm mixing these to combine. Sometimes I like adding honey instead of sugar. So if I'm doing that, I would add that to this mixture instead of adding it to the flour. With my mixer on low, I'll pour in my egg mixture. And I also have some dry yeast activating in some warm water with a little bit of sugar that will help the bread rise and make it fluffy. It smells cozy. I'll knead this for about 7 to 10 minutes until it's smooth and slightly sticky. So when it's sticking to the bowl like this, that's a sign that I need to add a bit more flour. I want to try not to add too much flour because that could create a dry bread. I think we're ready. So I'll scrape this off of my dough hook and then transfer it to a clean bowl to rise. I'll coat it with a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick. I'll stretch it into a ball so it's smooth. Give it a slap. Zhuzh it around, flip it over, so now it's all coated in oil, and now I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap. And this is gonna rise in a draft-free place for about 2 hours or until it's doubled in size, and then we'll be ready to shape it. My dough is almost finished rising, so right now I am prepping my fillings for my challah. Challah is great on its own, but I love to get creative and add different fillings and stuff it with scallions or cheese. Or you could also go a sweet route and add chocolate chips. And of course, it's really good plain too. Challah is a traditional Jewish egg bread. Growing up with a Jewish mom, we always had challah around the holidays. There were challah holidays and there were matzo ball holidays. And the challah holidays were the best. It was the first bread that I ever learned to make. And I remember helping my mom braid it when I was little. And then when I got older and had my first apartment in New York, this was one of the first recipes I ever made. My dough is looking great. It has risen. And now I'll divide it into 3 equal parts. And these will become my 3 braid strands. I will roll them out into long, skinny ovals. Now, if this were a normal, plain challah with no stuffings in it, I would just make logs and braid them together. But because I'm adding my butter, onion, and garlic, I'm gonna roll them out. I'm just flattening it out so it's about, I don't know, between like 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. All right, I am gonna brush the top of these with some melted butter. I'll sprinkle it with my garlic and onions. Now I'm gonna roll these up lengthwise and then pinch the edges to seal everything in. I've got my 3 strands. Now's the time for the fun part when I get to braid. Now I like to start my braid from the middle. I find that I can get a more even shape that way. If I start from one end, I find that my braid can look a little oblong. I cross the middle strand And then the left side, I'll place it over that strand. And I'm helping it along each way because it is kind of a delicate dough to handle. And when I get to the end, I'll give them a little pinch and tuck them under. And now the other side, you have to braid it under the center strand since we're going backwards. Right, under, just like braiding hair. Great. Let me grab my pan. I've lined it with parchment so that it doesn't stick. And now this is gonna rise for another 30 minutes or so because we wanna get it extra fluffy. And then I'll brush it with an egg wash that has a bit of honey in it. Sprinkle it with some flaky salt and then bake it at 375 for about 35 to 45 minutes until it's golden brown on top. Looks perfect. I can't imagine a better smell. I'm gonna let it cool a little bit and then dive right in. Oh, the inner part.
Yes, gotta go right for the center.
Yeah.
This is perfect. It's gonna give me the energy I need.
Creamy garlic red Bliss mash. 4 cloves of skin-off garlic go right in with our red Bliss potatoes. And we're gonna throw on cold water and then bring it up to temp, which is real important when you're doing mashed potatoes and you're boiling the potatoes. You don't wanna shock them. You start them in cold water, they're all gonna eat or heat properly. You see how hungry I am? I'm saying eat. Shout out to Freud. All right, so I'm gonna bring that up to a boil. Put the salt in after it comes to a boil because salting before can hinder the boiling. You know that your red Bliss potatoes are ready to go for your mash when you stick the fork in and it comes right off, which it did just now. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and drain it. Remember, we boiled these potatoes with 4 cloves of garlic water. We brought it up to a boil and then we dropped in some salt. I mean, this is gonna be really good garlic mash because the water it boiled in, garlic water. All right, so I'm gonna put it right back into the same pot we boiled it in. Garlic clove pieces and all, do not lose the flavor. And then we're gonna leave the heat on just a little bit. So all of the moisture that's on the skin of our red Bliss potatoes is gonna kind of just evaporate. All right, so get my masher out. I'm gonna go ahead and add in some heavy cream, room temp, so it doesn't bring down the temperature of the potatoes we just boiled. I'm gonna turn off my heat. Gonna add some butter. These are gonna be creamy. And the way I like my mashed potatoes is a little chunky. You know, if you're doing it for yourself, of course, make it like you want to. But if you have friends come over, I always do that. How do you like yours, chunky or creamy? So I don't want someone leaving saying, I don't know, her mashed potatoes were too chunky. I like it chunky. All right, and don't be shy with the salt either. You can really add a lot of salt to potatoes before you really start to taste it. All right, so everything is in the pot. I'm gonna go ahead and mash away. All right, I might wanna check those before I'm done with my mash. Put a little elbow grease into this. This is gonna be really good. I love leaving the skin on as well. Add some texture, a little bit of color. You know what? I eyeballed the heavy cream pretty good. All done there. All I'm gonna have to do is probably give it a taste and see if I wanna throw a little bit more salt and pepper in. All right, so let's see about some of this garlic mash. Remember, our red Bliss potatoes. Oh man, we boiled them in water with garlic cloves, hit them with some salt, butter, heavy cream, and you're done. I'm gonna taste my potatoes. Garlic. Wow.
Smoked prime rib. Sliced and served with a brown butter garlic sauce. We'll get it going with the basics. A little kosher salt, a little extra kosher salt, some fresh cracked black pepper, a little dry mustard, granulated garlic, paprika, and a touch of some cayenne. Just a little bit of heat, not too much. Okay? Now, mix this up, rub it on top, rub it on the sides. Okay? Now we're gonna let this stand. It's a little room temperature. You see how easy it moves around? That's gonna help us when we go and sear this in a cast iron skillet. So I've got some lump charcoal as well as some briquettes. Nice consistency burn with the briquettes and that flavor coming out of that lump charcoal. Gonna dump it right down in here. Trying to keep it almost on one side. Now, I've got some wood chips over here, some apple and some hickory. Two of my favorites. So we're gonna drop some of the apple and hickory, soaking in water here so they don't just burn up right off the bat. So we'll lay those chips down on there. We'll just leave a little bit of that water, and we'll lay this down here. We're kind of doing an indirect cooking right now. So I'm gonna drop this. Take this, let this heat up. I got the vent on the bottom open, vent on the top open. We're creating the convection. We're feeling it. It's coming through. This is indirect cooking, as a friend of mine would tell me. And I'm gonna season the bottom of this cast iron skillet, whoa, with some of these fresh herbs. I've got some thyme, I got some rosemary, of course, a little bit of oregano, and I'm just kind of getting the bottom of that pan just nice and well seasoned. You can smell it right now. I'm gonna use this later, so I'll hold tight with that, okay? Here it is, the star of the show, gonna wow everybody. That standing rib roast, bone in, seasoned, salt and pepper, drop it down, sear all the sides. Here we go. Remember, this cast iron skillet was smoking hot and I dropped a cold piece of meat on it, kind of a room temperature piece of meat, but it'll cool down now. So it's gonna take a little bit more time to recover as I go to sear each side. Working the fat cap right now. Look at that, huh? Now we'll go to the side. And for good measure, a little bit on the bottom. All right. Now we'll go over to the barbecue. Look at all that smoke cooking out of there. Fantastic. Oh, that's Flavor City right there. All the coals on this side. And what I'm gonna do, this is the critical part, bone, big side of the rib, eye of the meat over here, bring it over and put that towards the main heat source, okay? Doing it about a quarter opening on both the bottom and the top, so a little bit of smoke will be coming through. 2.5 hours at 225 degrees. Oh, one thing I forgot, hang on. I gotta drop this in. This is the fresh herbs that I took that I seasoned the pan with. I'm just gonna throw this right on top and just let that add some of its flavor. Okay, right now I'm gonna make a brown butter sauce, and more than just a brown butter sauce, but this really fantastic, flavorful, almost like a steak sauce meets brown butter sauce. What I've got here is some garlic, some shallots, dropping that right in. Started with a cold pan. I don't want to drop that butter in too fast and have it burn on us right off the bat. I'll just throw all that parsley in. Gonna let this kind of just cook down a little bit. See where it's just starting to bubble, just starting to foam, just a little bit. That's what we're looking for. Now we're gonna add a little demi-glace. What's demi-glace? Well, we got a little veal stock married with a little Espagnole sauce, one of the mother sauces. So we'll just put a touch of that in, and you love the richness that comes out of the demi-glace. Get a little beef stock in there as well. About a cup of that. We're gonna really, now I can crank the heat up. Now I'm not worried about that butter burning any further. So about a cup of that, and then believe it or not, what you love with prime rib and steak, you love a little Worcestershire. So we'll put a healthy little dose of some Worcestershire, let that reduce down, okay? And last but not least, I gotta pull this prime rib and let it rest. That rib, let it rest. Now what I'm gonna do, I've let it rest. I'm just gonna come right in here, cut it off the bone. There we go. Nice end cut piece here from my dad. We're talking, and look at this, huh? There we go. Right up on top. Cooking it with the bone in, I'm telling you, makes all the difference in the world. Platter those up, and that really big, nice end cap. Now we'll take some of this. I gotta check this. This is a huge reduction. We got butter, we've got garlic, we've got shallots, demi-glace, little beef stock, Worcestershire. Oh, fantastic. And then we'll just give that a little drizzle, little brown butter drizzle right over the top of this. Now, I know I'm not supposed to do this because I'm supposed to wait for my mom to come over from next door with a salad and the sides, but I gotta get a bite of this. I gotta get a bite of this. Let's see here, right up here at the eye, nice and tender. And the smoke is the kicker on this, you guys. Smoky, that garlic, that brown butter. Prime rib has so much available flavor. It will take that smoke on so great with all that fat. Cook low and slow, nice and tender. The dry rub on the outside.
Baked cod with garlic and herb Ritz crumbs. So I've got 4 center cut cod fillets. I like cod because it's kind of a meaty fish, but they're center cut because if you choose the end, it's going to be thin and they won't cook evenly. So 4 center cut cod fillets. I brush the bottom with olive oil, put the cod on top. I'm going to brush the top with olive oil, and that way they're just going to brown really nicely. You don't want something that's going to flake too much because it just doesn't have the same kind of substance to it. So olive oil, lots of salt and pepper. You want it to be really well seasoned, and some pepper. Okay, into the oven, 400 degrees for just 10 minutes. Okay, now for the topping. So I'm starting with Ritz crackers. Bet you didn't think I'd be cooking with those, but they're really buttery and they have lots of flavor. So I'm taking about 15 Ritz crackers, crumbling them up. I need cracker crumbs. Just break them up into the food processor. This is retro food, but made more modern. I really like the salty kind of buttery thing going with the fish. Okay, that's about a half a cup of Ritz cracker crumbs. If I can get it off. Right into a bowl. And to that, I'm going to add half a cup of panko crumbs and make it really crunchy. 2 tablespoons of minced parsley. 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Give it lots of flavor. And some melted butter. Just pour it over. And this is going to make it brown and delicious because butter makes everything better, right? You always want some kind of oil or butter on the panko. Panko is actually Japanese bread flakes, and it's really popular now, and you can find it in any grocery store. I don't know what we did without it 10 years ago. Okay, I'm going to add some lemon zest to give it kind of a nice edge. About a teaspoon. Let's see. I always do it right over the thing that I'm zesting it into because it really catches the oils. Much more flavor. More flavor in the zest than in the juice, but we'll use the juice later. Okay, that should be about a teaspoon. Some salt. Give it a stir. As I said, baked fish can be kind of boring. It's this crumb topping that really gives it so much flavor. Actually, not only is it crumb topping, but it becomes part of the sauce. Okay, the first stage of the fish should be done in the oven. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of dry white wine, and I'm going to pour it actually directly on the fillets so the flavor really gets into the fillets. Just like that. A couple of tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice right on the fillets. Try and catch the seeds in your hand. And then I'm going to put the crumbs directly onto the fillets. Just pile them on. If some of them fall into the dish, it's not a problem because they'll really get incorporated in the sauce and flavor the sauce as well. It's a lot of crumbs, but it really gives the whole thing a lot of flavor. I think fish can be kind of scary to cook because you always think you're going to overcook it. But if you have fillets that are all the same thickness and they cook evenly, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, back into the oven, 400 degrees for exactly 12 minutes. It's going to be so good. So the fish should be ready. This looks great. See how it makes crispy topping and also really nice sauce? I love the way it looks. I love the way it tastes. And you can see that the sauce is kind of thickened by the panko and the Ritz crackers. Yum. So we'll just do a little lemon in the dish. One of the great things about this dish is the dish goes right to the table. Don't need to put it on a platter or anything. I just like to serve it with extra lemon, though. Just put it right in the dish. People can help themselves. I just need a little taste because it looks so good. Think anybody missed this little corner? Crispy crumbs, garlic and herbs, white wine and lemon sauce. This looks so good. The garlic and the herbs and the lemon and wine. Nothing boring about this fish dish. Everybody's gonna love it.
I'm getting ready to turn this mediocre loaf into 4 cheese roasted garlic pull-apart bread. Boy, oh boy, is it gonna be tasty. I'm gonna start by cutting the bread into a crisscross pattern, and I'll be careful not to cut it all the way through. Okay, the bread's cut. Now it's onto the cheese mixture, which is gonna get stuffed into the bread. I'm using 4 different kinds: grated mozzarella, I'm just eyeballing the amounts, and grated fontina, which I love. It's so creamy. And then good old Parmesan and some Romano. And then I like to give things a little extra flavor, so I'm gonna chop up some chives. You can just pretty much do whatever you wanna do with the seasoning of this cheese mixture. You can add Italian seasoning. You could add sun-dried tomatoes. That would be delicious. Kind of do an Italian version. And for a little bit of spice, some crushed red pepper flakes. I'll add those to pretty much anything. And a little black pepper. The cheese has plenty of salt in it, so I'm not gonna add any extra. Okay, the next thing I'm adding to the cheese mixture, roasted garlic. This is over the top decadent. I roasted this earlier. I just put 8 cloves of peeled garlic on foil, drizzled them with olive oil, sprinkled on salt, pepper, then wrapped up the whole thing in a parcel and roasted it at 375 for an hour. Okay, roasted garlic goes in. Look at the color. And it is so soft, nutty, and delicious. I could just snack on that. Okay, that's the cheese mixture. Now for the fun part. I'm gonna stuff the bread. I've got a little piece of foil, and I'll put the bread on top. When this bakes, it is really, really messy, so I wanna give myself a fighting chance. Now I'm gonna stuff the cheese mixture in every single crevice of the bread. This is a side dish. I'm gonna serve it with soup, but you can make the pull-apart bread the main course if you want. I had a friend who did a buffalo chicken version. She just made buffalo chicken and tore it all up, stuffed it in the crevices with cheese and baked it. It was absolutely one of the most beautiful things I'd ever tasted. Okay, that's it for the cheese. Now, if you think this is crazy, just wait till you see the last thing I'm gonna add. Got a little saucepan of melted butter, and you guessed it, I'm gonna pour it all over the top of the bread. This will add moisture to the cheesy bread while it's baking, but it'll also add some gorgeous golden color to the surface. I think that's good. Now I'll wrap up this beautiful package, and I'll get it in the oven. It's gonna bake at 350 degrees for 25 minutes, covered, and then I'll peel back the foil and let it go for another 10. You will not believe how gorgeous it's gonna be. Talk about irresistible. This is the most inviting thing I've ever seen.
These are the easiest potatoes in the world. I think I've made more garlic roasted potatoes than every other vegetable combined. I start with red potatoes, but you can really use any kind of thin-skinned potato. Maybe about 2 pounds. If they're big potatoes, I'll cut them in quarters. If they're small potatoes, I'll cut them in half. Okay, a little olive oil. Just drizzle it on. Coarse salt. I use kosher salt, but you can use sea salt or any kind of salt you have around. Lots of fresh pepper. Give it a little spice. Now the secret to my potatoes. Really good garlic. I always try and find garlic that's very firm like this. It doesn't have a big sprout on it. You don't want to plant in your potatoes. You want a really good garlic. Peel 6 cloves of garlic. There's a lot of garlic in this meal, but when you cook garlic for a long time, it becomes really sweet. So it's not going to be too garlicky a meal. Now, the easiest way I find to chop garlic is just to leave the tip of the blade on the board and run the knife back and forth and really let the blade do the work. Okay, go. Lots of garlic. Oh, it smells so good. I'm going to use my hands to mix up the olive oil, salt I've already put on it, the pepper. Okay, into the oven. 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. Oh, these are the garlic roasted potatoes, and they are seriously garlic. They're all crisp on the outside and delicious inside. It's like the entire kitchen. Hi, sweetie.
Ooh, that looks great.
Does that look good?
That looks great. Can I grab this right now?
What you've been dreaming of all the way home?
You want some wine?
And I'd love some wine. That'd be fabulous. And a sprinkling of parsley on the top.